Hey y'all, welcome back to the journey with Sarah Alexia. It's been about 3 weeks. Oh my goodness. Let me just tell you guys, right? So I didn't get lazy or nothing. Let me tell you, my voice literally was stolen. It was stolen for about a week and a half. Now, let me tell you how it was stolen, right? So I went to a retreat, right? And in the retreat, there was a lot of worshiping. There was a lot of praising, just a lot of yelling or whatever. But like, this is something that I do on a daily basis. Like, this is who I am. Like, I'm always yelling at the top of my lungs. I'm always singing. I'm always talking. So like, I've never lost my voice before. But for some odd reason, I lost my voice as soon as this retreat was over, and it was gone for about a week and a half. So there's that. And then on top of that, so once I got my voice back, I didn't lose it again, but I got sick. I have a cold. I currently have a cold right now. You'll probably hear that my voice is nasally. And again, I was a bit skeptic to record an episode, but I'm like, yo, enough is enough. I miss recording. Like, this stuff is fun to me. So like, the fact that I couldn't do it, I'm like, I feel like a part of me is missing. Like, my morning routine has been thrown off. Like, I just look at my laptop in the morning and I'm like, bro, I'm just gonna write. So yeah, my voice was stolen. I'm gonna keep saying it was stolen for about 2 weeks, but I just thank God for, the people who are beside me and that prayed for my voice to be restored, the people who encouraged me and told me that they missed my podcast episodes. Like, you all are greatly appreciated, and we're back. We're back, baby! We are back! I am excited, and like, nasally and all, bro, I'm gonna keep recording, so let's get into it, right? So, I wanted to talk about this literally the day after the retreat, right? But that's when my voice was stolen. So, like, it's not, to me, it's not outdated because the context of what I'm about to talk about, like, it doesn't really connect to the conference. It's like, it's just they talked about one thing and then right there I created an episode. But I just really wished I was able to record it right after the conference, right? But, so I went to, it's funny, because in my notes it says about 2 weekends ago, and it definitely was 2 weekends ago. I don't know why I put that. I must have been prophesying that I was going to write this. Well, whatever. Anyways, but I went to retreat, right? It was called the Manifest Retreat. It's a retreat under Influence, which is under Jubilee, and this is basically like a young adults retreat, right? Now, this retreat was held at a Christian camp called Humes in Montgomery, Massachusetts, right? So it was about 2 days, and let me tell you, like, it was quite the experience. Now, you would have thought this was my first time going. It wasn't. It was actually my second time going. The thing is with me and, like, church conferences, revivals, prayer nights, worship nights, I will always go first. I'll be the only one going. I will never invite my friends because, one, I want to spectate. So when I first went, I went as a spectator. I didn't really tell none of my friends. I just went as a spectator to see like what they really got going on. Now I went the second time. Obviously, it cost money, so I did tell my friends, but they didn't go. So I still was the only one that went this time. But like going the second time, not as a spectator, and just truly embracing what was gonna happen that weekend, it was quite the experience. It was mind blowing. I felt free. I felt free to be myself. I felt free to worship God in the way that I wanted to, and not afraid of like who was gonna judge me. And like I went in with full confidence. And guys, something else happened at this revival or conference, whatever you want to call it. I can't wait to share it in an episode, but God is truly the God of reconciliation. So I can't wait to share that one day. But yes, like this retreat was mind blowing, right? So here's what I really want to talk about that happened in the retreat. So when I went this time around, they talked about a lot of things. Like last year, they talked about a lot of things, but this year they talked about a new set of things, which I can definitely appreciate. But they talked about one topic that really struck a nerve. Like when you preach and it strikes a nerve, that's how I know you preaching. Like if you're preaching and I don't feel convicted, I'm not saying that every sermon should convict you or every sermon like should make you feel some type of condemnation, because there's no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. But the fact that they were preaching and it convicted me, like it just wasn't like my spirit was just uneasy. I'm like, bro, I didn't come here for this. I came here to be edified. Y'all are making me feel convicted. But they talked about this one topic and it just struck a nerve. And like the topic that they were talking about was the topic of honor. Like, even just now when I talk about it, like, I feel happy talking about it. But as I was writing this, I was literally cringing. I'm like, bro, I hate honor. Like, not that I hate honor, but like, I struggle with this so much that I hate the topic, right? And the reason why is because I never understood the true meaning of honor. Like, what does it really look like? Like, I know the Bible talks about honor your mother and your father, your days should be long. And I've done that. I've honored my mother. I've honored my father, even though he was absent in my life. But I still honor him. Even all the way in Nigeria, I honor him, right? But like the fact that honor goes over that, like it's beyond honoring your mother and your father. It's beyond that. And I couldn't comprehend that, right? So the fact that they were talking about honoring, I was getting ready to clock out of this conversation. Like, I'm like, bro, I'm not trying to hear it because I don't get it. You're probably going to explain it in a way that don't make sense. Like, I was over it, right? So right before I was getting ready to clock out, something that they said immediately got my attention, right? What the pastor said is, he said, do not look with haughty eyes. Now, when he said that, like, immediately, like, my eyes just shot up. I looked at him and I'm like, what? Haughty eyes? What's that? And I never heard that. I've heard the term before, like during Bible studies and reading the Bible, but no one has ever really like said it. Like they never really said, like they never really told you to not do it. So when he said, don't look with haughty eyes, I'm like, bro, what? I've never heard that term before. So immediately, right, I wanted to Google the word haughty right there and then. But because I was up in the mountains and up in the woods, my phone just had no service. So all throughout the day, I was just determined to Google this term and this word, haughty eyes, right? So let's get into it. We haven't used Minister Google in a minute on my podcast. So let's get into this definition and term of haughty eyes. So according to Google, the term haughty eyes are the kind of eyes that look down at other people as if the one looking down is quote unquote higher up than others. Now remember this, I mentioned earlier that I struggle with honor. Before I start making connections, let's look to see what honor means. Now, according to Minister Google, honor means to have high respect, great esteem, or regard with respect. Now, based on these definitions, it's almost as if honor and haughtiness cannot coexist. Again, I'm going to say it, honor and haughtiness cannot coexist. Now, the connection that I made with these two is I cannot look up if I'm always looking down. Let me say that one more time. I cannot look up if I'm always looking down. Now, I'm the type of individual, and I'm pretty sure you've already assessed this through my recent episodes, but I'm always seeking to understand myself and truly dig to see what's up when it comes to strange behavior. Now, the strange behavior to me is, why could I not treat people with great respect? Why couldn't I honor folks? Like, don't get me wrong, I was not disrespecting people. Like, I wasn't disrespecting, like, those who I thought didn't deserve my honor. Like, I'm not disrespectful. But there was just certain people in my life that I felt as if they did not deserve my honor. They did not deserve my respect. Now, before you try to judge me, right, you're probably the same way. And I will explain more of that towards the end of this episode. But please do not judge me, because we all fall short. But I pondered on this thought, and I reflected for a cool minute, right? So if you remember my first episode, Comparison is a Savage, I talked a lot about how comparison can lead to a savage lifestyle. Well, that episode shed some light to how comparison can sometimes invite his cousin named Haughty. And y'all, listen, I don't know what that term is that they use, but in my next episode, I'm so excited to talk about cousins, bro. Like, I'm so excited, right? But anyways, so again, that episode shed some light on how comparison can sometimes invite his cousin named Haughty, which will also lead to a savage lifestyle. Now, you're probably like, what is this girl talking about? She just be talking, coming up with all these terms and stuff, and coming up with all these like analogies and blah, blah, whatever. Think about it this way, right? Just hear me out and think about it this way. I grew up being compared to. Rather, honestly, matter of fact, scratch that. It's not even that I grew up being compared to. We actually grow up in a comparing world. Like, if you don't have the nicest sneakers, like, you're always looking at someone else's shoes and seeing if your shoe game is better than them. Like, yo, guys, I recently just got into, like, buying shoes, and like now my eyes just be on people's sneakers. Like, oh, what kind of sneakers you got going on? Like, do you have the latest Dunks? Do you have the latest Air Jordan 1s? Do you have the latest whatever, right? Mind you, I know nothing about sneakers, but because I started buying them, all of a sudden my eyes are just looking to see what people got going on their feet, right? But that's the world we grow up in, right? Now we're also looking to see who got the better grades. Like, even as a teacher, I look at all these middle school kids like, oh, what did you get? What did you get? Just comparing yourself. And if they got the better grade, they would celebrate and make their peer feel less than. Or if they got the less grade, they would be upset, putting their head down, throwing a tantrum, right? Or if you have the latest hairstyle, things of that nature. Like, we grow up in a comparing world. We grow up comparing ourselves, and as we get to these adult years, we fall into the trap of trying to be better than the next person. Let me say that one. I'm going to spend a lot of time repeating myself, but let me say that one more time. If you continue to fall into this trap of comparison, right, you are going to fall into the trap of trying to be better than the next person. And now when you are trying to be better than the next person, you immediately invite the temptation for haughtiness. Let me tell you how. Because instead of being inspired by your peers or inspired by your siblings or inspired by those around you, you have now created a competition within yourself, right? Against this person. And think about it. In competitions, you do not honor your competitor. Point blank, period. Because why? Because you don't want them to get the victory. You believe that the victory belongs to you and defeat belongs to them. So when you are haughty, when you are a competitor, you just invite haughtiness, right? Again, that's a whole thing, but like, this was the revelation that the Holy Spirit dropped within me. Now, you're probably wondering, well, how do I know if I have haughty eyes? Like, Sarah, you're just talking like you never heard this word before, and I've never heard this word before. So how do I know if I'm struggling with this word, right? Well, it's simple. To me, it's simple. And it's okay if this is you when I bring up these questions, right? But the first question I want you to think about is, do you struggle to compliment or celebrate people in your life? And not just your friends, right? Not just your family, but classmates who get a better grade than you. Colleagues who get a promotion, friends who get engaged, or like that girl that you went to school with that got engaged. Like, it don't even gotta be your friend, but the girl that you knew about that got engaged. Like, do you struggle to compliment or celebrate people? So think about that. Number 2, do you sometimes feel like most people are against you or competing with you? Again, back to that statement that I made about competition. Like, when you're competing, there is no room for honor. So do you feel like people are competing with you? Third question, do you struggle with celebrating yourself privately, therefore you look to other people for recognition or celebration? Think about these 3 questions, and if you answered yes to either one or all 3, you might just be struggling with haughtiness. And I'm going to explain further so that way you can truly see if you're struggling with this or not, right? Now, let's think about the first question. If you are struggling to compliment or celebrate people, the reason behind it is probably because you feel as though you're the one that deserves the celebration. You want all eyes to be on you, and you just can't stand that all eyes are on a person. So now you feel as though if you compliment or celebrate that person, all eyes will be on them, and therefore takes the eyes off of you. So that's probably why you're not celebrating. Now, this may not be you, but if it is you, think about that. You're probably struggling with haughtiness, right? So think about it. Someone got an A on their project, but you got a B. Now, instead of telling that person, congratulations for getting an A, you're just like, yo, I should have got that A. I deserve that A. I had more detail in my project. Or think about this one. Someone at your job gets promoted, but you barely get a raise, and you think to yourself, yo, I work harder than her. I'm always on time. She barely be coming in on time. Why did she get the promotion? I deserve that promotion. Or your sister friend gets engaged, and you think to yourself, yo, I've been saving myself for marriage. I've been serving in the church, things of that nature. How is she getting engaged before me? Look at her ratchet lifestyle. Now, I want you to understand the response to the response to the good deeds in all 3 of them, right? The trend is, I deserve it. Like, at this point, the cousin of haughtiness is pride, because you're thinking, I deserve this. Like, you immediately think like they don't deserve whatever it is that came for them. So you're struggling to celebrate them. And if you do, it takes the attention off yourself. So comparison is the root, I think, to haughtiness, right? All right, let's go to the second point. So to my second point, you feel as though everyone is against you, or you feel as though everyone is competing with you. In my opinion, this actually is the center of haughtiness. As I mentioned before, competition automatically puts you in a position to have haughty eyes. Because as mentioned, when you are competing with your competitor, there is no honor because you desire to be higher than that person. You desire victory for yourself and you desire defeat for them. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some healthy competitions that are out there where honor is welcomed. But the type of competition that I'm talking about is that you sincerely desire for that person to be defeated. Like, once you defeat them, there's no handshake. Secretly, you praying on their downfall. Like, that's the competition that I'm talking about, is that you are preying on this person's downfall and you feel like you're the only one that deserves to win in this life. If that is your mindset, you are struggling with haughtiness. I kid you not, right? Now to my last point and last question, which to me is probably the most deepest concept that I realized for myself. And it's also toxic to me. But you struggle to celebrate yourself privately. So there's a term that I learned a while back called false humility. And false humility is just pridefulness in disguise. We're often taught that we need to be humble, which means not to esteem ourselves above others, but still appreciating our gifts and talents. Now, to me, an act, or something that I've done before, but an act of false humility is waiting for someone to appreciate your gifts and talents. And in return, you say something like, oh, it's not all me, or that's nothing, or, to God be all the glory, not really meaning that, right? But deep down inside, you know you're like that. You know what you did was good. You know that you put on a great show. You know that, like I said, you're like that. But you don't want to come off a certain way. Now, here's where that becomes toxic, because that's fine, right? That's fine if you don't want to boast, you don't want to be prideful, that's fine. But here's where it becomes toxic, right? When the appreciation stops and goes to others, and now you feel the need to start being competitive, right? And again, I feel as though all three of these points tie in with each other, because if you were to just accept the compliment, right, and just, be proud of yourself, you wouldn't feel the need to compete with someone just because they're getting the same compliments that you got a month ago. But because you're not able to compliment yourself and be proud of yourself, you find yourself just, thirsting for the compliments of others. And now when it stops, you are mad and you want to compete with the next person. And now you have haughty eyes. So, hey, if that's you, trust me, it was me at some point. You're not alone. So I gave 3 indications, but how do we overcome them? To me, it all comes down to one big thing. Loving the people around you and genuinely finding it in your soul to have them win. But in order to want someone to win, in order to love them, you have to love yourself. And here's the most important thing. Well, it's not the most important, but here's the second important thing. You have to want to win for yourself. Like, I think that's where haughtiness really starts coming up. Like, you want to win for others, and the thing is, maybe it's not your fault because you wanted to win for your mom. Like, the reason why you did so well in school is so that your mom could be proud of you. The reason why you got a job is so that way your dad wasn't always the one, paying all the bills. Like, you were doing good for your parents, you were doing good for your siblings, you were doing good for your friends, but that also invites room for haughtiness because you're just working for others unto others, and you're not working unto others for God. So you have to want to win for yourself because you want to win, not because you're competing or not because you're trying to prove something to someone. So now, what this all comes down to is if you struggle with self-love and self-motivation. And this puts you at a position to be a candidate for haughty eyes. Like, hopefully what I'm saying is making sense, but like, if you struggle with self-love and self-motivation, meaning that you're not motivated by yourself, but you're motivating by, is this going to make my mom proud? Is this going to make my dad proud? Am I going to be better than that person? If that's what motivates you, it puts you at a candidate to have haughty eyes. But if you increase in self-love and self-motivation, man, you will be free from haughtiness. Now, here's a couple of ways on how to do that. Number one, learn to compliment yourself and be proud of your accomplishments. Like, to be humble does not mean to negate the fact that you're like that. To be humble does not mean to negate the fact that you're a GOAT. To be humble means you're not flaunting it in everyone's face. But if you're like that, you're like that. So what you need to do is you literally need to stand in front of your mirror, look yourself in the eyes, and begin to talk well of yourself. Say, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I'm like that. I'm strong. I can accomplish this. I'm the bestest and the baddest. Like, say some things that uplift you, right? The second thing is learn to celebrate others. Like, I know this can be hard. For me, this was hard at the beginning of my walk. But start off small. Start something like Gratitude Thursdays. Like, and what that means is on Thursdays, you pick 2 to 3 people that you want to acknowledge. Like, whether you send them a text, you send them an email, you tell them in person, or you pick up your phone and call them. But just acknowledge the great work that they have done, compliment them, and just extend your gratitude and express how grateful you are for them. And the last point to like overcoming this is confess your struggles. Confess to someone that you struggle with haughtiness. They may look at you like, what is that? But just really explain to them what it is and how you're desiring to overcome, so that way they can hold you accountable. Because one thing that I learned is that in life, when we struggle with something, whether it be natural or supernatural, the minute you confess it, supernaturally, the burden is lifted and you feel as though you have the strength to overcome whatever the struggle is. Like, that's been my experience, and I truly believe like sometimes when we feel guilt and shame when it comes to certain struggles, we're going to continue to stay in that until we confess it. Like, we're not called to live in bondage. So that's why we need to start expressing things. And for the people who be judging people, shame on you, because you're keeping people from their freedom. So that's all I have for today, y'all. Like I said, this was a different topic. And like this topic, like it was like, I'm really grateful to share my experience on it and to share like the wisdom that God has given me. Like I said, I didn't read a book on this, but like this is what the Holy Spirit literally showed me. And I truly believe I'm not the only one that struggles with this. Like, and if I'm not, please let me know. Please, because this is a different topic. Like, I didn't care about comparison as a savage, lust as a savage. Like, I knew for a fact that everyone struggled with this. But if you struggle with haughty eyes, let me know that I'm not crazy. For real. Like, I love the fact that I'm able to share this. But if you struggle with it, don't leave me hanging. Let me know. And let's overcome this thing together. Because like this journey of life, and this is why my episode is called The Journey of Sarah Alexia. But this journey in life is not an easy journey. And self-awareness is going to be your best friend. And sometimes we need the information to like be aware of what we're going through. So that's literally the purpose of this podcast, is that, just to create some more awareness. And I just thank God that He has given me the gift of awareness, and that He's also going to give you the gift of awareness. So if you can, share this with about 3 to 5 people. If you know someone who's struggling with this, discreetly share the episode with them so that way they can be free too. And I will catch y'all on the next episode. Be blessed.